Radio Zero with Rick and Rose, Friday, February 21st, 2025. Right? I'm totally on.
We're live streaming on Facebook on the Radio Zero page and Poster Children page, on Twitch at PCJC USA, and on the Poster Children YouTube channel, and maybe on the Poster Children TikTok. Not sure, quite sure about that. Fridays.
X? Are we on X? Oh, sorry.
Fridays, typically 5 p.m. Central, but today we're doing it 4 p.m. Central. You can also listen to this later as a podcast. You can subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, RadioZero.us. You can patronize us at patreon.com/RadioZero. Thank you to all of our patrons. All right.
I was just asleep like 5 minutes ago. Like I had a 5-minute rest. I'm so let's use the word invigorated. That's what I am. I'm invigorated. I feel like I'm losing my mind.
That seems like two opposite things.
Yeah. I'm like over invigorated.
Oh, okay. So manic. Losing your mind.
Yeah.
Got it.
Manic is happy, right?
Well, it's just frantic, right? It's not necessarily
maybe it's
happy.
frantic. Yeah. It's not. It's just there's so many different things happening. Like there's so many. Like today I was in the theater for some reason, like putting up a screen. It's just because nobody else was doing it.
And
like
by the theater, you just mean
the theater
in general.
Yeah,
the theater.
I was in the
theater.
theater.
I am in the theater.
I was like in the theater. I was in a different room. Before that, I was somewhere else. I'm like been in
a lot of rooms today.
A lot of different rooms. I was in different rooms. I parked in
so
different
many rooms.
Okay, you know what happened? Also, the car got towed.
Today? Again?
No, it got towed yesterday. I'm never going to forget that. God, I was so mad.
That
and
car, that car let
it was my fault.
got itself
Yes.
towed.
Yeah, it was totally my fault. And the woman, like, who answered the phone, she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I know it's so terrible." And I was like, "She gets me. You know." Like it was good. It was a good voice. It was a great telephone voice for a tow company. All right. So, what do you want to talk about?
Oh crap! You see,
you were manipulating the thing.
I was trying to get everything going, and then you were asleep. And we didn't have time to talk about what to talk about.
All right. We never have anything to talk about.
I should have.
We never figure it out in advance.
I have a reminder to do that. It's just I didn't do the pre-production for today's episode. I'm sorry.
You usually have a reminder for of things to talk
topics.
about. You do?
I try to. Well, no, I have a reminder that I got to write down topics, and today I didn't get to it.
All right.
When I turned on all the gear, my camera was upside down in OBS software, and it shouldn't have been upside down, and then I had to flip it in the software, and now I'm worried that it's going to just turn upside down randomly in the middle of the
That's like a Severance thing. So I mean, can I talk about our visiting artist we had today?
Sorry, I didn't mean to
go
off on a tangent
there.
We
can go into Severance.
Okay.
Like the brain upside down thing. Let me talk about just because I've otherwise I'll forget. So we have a visiting artist. So the guy who founded our program at Illinois State University's name is David Bryan Williams, and he founded the program in 1980. This program that's interdisciplinary technologies. Sorry, it's interdisciplinary art and technology. So it was called Arts Technology, right?
Yeah.
Back in the 1980s, we probably talked about it before. It's so hard for it's hard for anybody to accept technology as being used with art, because a lot of times it makes it so you don't need to do something skillful, right? So he had to have had a rough time back then. You know, it's like using a camera instead of painting. You know, right? Like, how dare you use a camera? That's not artistic. And then photography became canon. Get it? Anyway, need like a groan. but anyway, so he instituted a visiting artist series for our students, for visiting artists to come. And so the second visiting artist of this year, his name is, let's see if I can say it right, Frank Viro. Frank Vigo. Vigo. He's like, you really don't even say, like, you don't say most of the consonants. And he's from under Paris, like lower than, like souther than Paris. He's from where there's mountains in a small town.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And he's like, so this is also in conjunction with, I know it's called Point Forward because I was on the board of Point Forward. But I never know how to describe Point Forward. It's pt.fwd, and it's a nonprofit that puts together shows, electronic music, or experimental electronic music concerts, but also hip hop concerts, right? Well, they're doing an experimental electronic and hip hop concert, I think.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, I think.
I didn't know about that.
But it's there's like an experimental electronic music scene here in Bloomington, Normal. They probably like to say in Normal, Illinois, right?
I think Bloomington Normal's fine.
Yeah, but it's I even asked them what it was called, and it's experimental electronic music, right?
So you're asking me, but you asked them. You're saying right to me.
Well, I mean, do you agree with this?
Do I agree with what they call it? You said you talked to them about what they call it.
Do you agree with that? There's a scene here.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
they have
some
shows.
who play
People
it.
go see them and stuff.
Yeah.
There's high school groups that play experimental electronic music. It's crazy, right? It's nice. Like some areas have a punk rock scene. We have an electronic experimental electronic music scene. So anyway, so Point Forward is a nonprofit that brings in these types of artists here and like has connections with the whatever it is in the something SS in not the SS but in don't allow. In Chicago, there's like also a group in Chicago, and then they trade artists. So somebody's coming to Chicago, they'll be like, "Here, come down here too." It's nice, right? And I think they're working on connections all over the place. I don't know enough about it. Just go to pt.fwd and you'll know more about it. But so Eddie Breitweiser, who is in charge of Point Forward, is the one who kind of found Frank Viro. And I decided, let's partner with Point Forward, and then we can bring them, and there'll be more people to see Frank Viro. So for the last 2 days we've been hanging out with Frank Viro, and today he talked to our students and showed like a bunch of videos of his work. He's a electronic music artist, but he often goes along with a collaborator, like a visual arts collaborator, and then they do things. Like he showed a bunch of his videos, and they're pretty awesome looking, like really interesting. But at some point I was like, look at this one, some of it looks like stuff that we do in processing /P5JS. It looks like stuff that we actually teach our students, some of the visuals. And finally we talked to him today, and like Chris Lackey asked him, what is your collaborator program? And he's like, it is a thing called processing. And we're like, it's the same thing.
I felt
we
like
teach
you said that last night. He talked about processing.
Yeah. That's so cool. So I got very excited about that. But the students were asking him questions, and like it's pretty cool. Like I was trying to wrap my head around what he was showing us. They're like about 12 to 20 second clips of the different visuals, like videos edited together of all the different visuals that happen. But the songs are like an hour long. So like he'll play in a theater with like projections and stuff, and there'll be like there's a whole concept, like a car crash, connected to J.G. Ballard's, crash, but also this artist was in a car crash. And, that's one of the pieces. And there's like the graphics are really neat when he shows them. It's really edited together really nicely. So I thought it was really inspiring for our students. And the other thing I wanted our students to see was just that every piece like kind of had like a concept behind it. because often I feel like, and it might just be me teaching the computer programming class. Often the concept is Homer Simpson is chasing donuts, you know, or I don't know. Often it's a fly swatter is chasing flies.
Like it's too literal, or
It's just there's no concept. The concept is like the last thing that they thought of, but that's just because they're trying to code also at the same time.
right.
I mean, and you do you have any kind of conceptual art in the classes that you teach? What do you teach? You're teaching 301 and 3. You're teaching web design, and what's the other one you're teaching?
Advanced web design.
Yeah, so like that, they just make websites, right? And then they make their own.
Yeah.
But it's not. They don't have to go through. But you've taught like the conceptual classes before too.
I mean, you mean, what do you mean conceptual classes?
I mean, like make a project that isn't. Make a project that has some sort of
yeah, I mean,
concept.
yeah, I don't think we have conceptual like art classes. We have project based classes, but I don't think like you're talking about kind of more like
Yeah, I'm not talking about like immateriality, the class that we took, right? It was a great class at U of I. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about project-based classes. You're right.
yeah. What was the question?
Did you what
What did you want
I remember
from me?
you made like you had your students put stuff up in the gallery, right? They
They're
made
projects. Yeah.
yeah. So did they have like how was the how are the themes? How are the concepts behind the projects? Did they have concepts of a plan in the projects?
Well, yeah. They didn't just improvise and randomly throw things together. They had concepts, but I mean, and some were more, I guess, what you would call artistic or abstract than others. Some were more literal.
Yeah, I feel like we have to. That's something that we sometimes have to teach. Like is like, and I was talking about. I was like, look, you see how he's got like every single one of these projects. He's got like some sort of a whole a paragraph explaining the project, and there's some sort of conceptual theme to it. And that's what being an intentional artist is. Like that's part of our mission statement in our school is that we create like intentional artists. And that's what intentional means. I was trying to say that it doesn't mean that you intend to turn it in. It means that there's some kind of meaning behind the art. It's not just look, I made a gradient. Look at the flashy lights. They blink. Look at the blinky.
Yeah. But I think there's a range.
Yeah, definitely. But there could be that's something we could aspire to, because that is something that AI can't teach. It can, but it's going to be watered down, or it's going to be something it's going to be something that it pulled off the internet and interpolated for itself, whereas people's experiences are still significant or unique, somewhat unique.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you're talking more of like from a gallery sort of art perspective where you're making art based around a concept rather than implementing a design.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So like we, so the school, the Wansakam College or school of art is probably gonna be called the School of Art and Design. We're having lots of discussions about what things can be named and what things, which people own certain words, but that's going to be art and design. And so like if you're making, if design is different to you than art is, that's important. And it almost sounded like you just made a distinction between a student project that's art and a student project that's design.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain what that is to me?
You don't understand the difference, or
Well, maybe the one person or 4 people who are listening might want to know also. There's a thumb up.
Wow.
Difference between student art and student design. How about that?
Even more
let's narrow
complicated.
it down. Yeah.
No, I mean, do you've been through the same
I know. Yeah. We
thing
both,
I have, and you're the one talking about how we need to do this. So
yeah.
what do you
Well,
what do you
even
think?
design is okay. I would say that when we create the I've taught this programming class for so long, and we make a program, and then we need assets for it, and then there's games too, right? I'm not into the game classes that they're teaching, but at least in the computer programming class, the students will just look for assets as quickly as they can. They'll think of something. Well, we've made a program that's object oriented, so things are flying around, birds are flying around, or flies are flying around, or donuts are flying around, and then they need something that collects them all. And when it runs into something else, there's like a little, if distance between collector thing and flying thing is less than 30, then eat the thing, or do something, right? There's a what is it called, collision detection, that we write in the code. And so then after all of that code is written, then you need to put pictures in it. You need to have some sort of a concept. And I don't know how long people take with this to try to, you have to think of like, okay, what is it gonna be? Is it gonna be Homer Simpson, chasing donuts, or is it gonna be, it's actually, it's a lot of times it's cats and mice now, or cats or mice and cheese. It's always that. And so they probably spend more time looking for the assets and trying to make the backgrounds transparent than they do even thinking about the concept. And what would be neat is if they thought of a concept that meant something to them.
Well, I mean, so you're basically teaching a rudimentary thing, which is collision detection, right?
Yeah.
And so asking someone to come up with a completely unique sort of concept around collision, so that's the problem is you're building something around
The technology.
the technology, the framework, the system.
Yeah,
and
you're
so it's
probably
like,
right.
oh, what's a metaphor for collision detection? And it's like a cat catching a mouse.
Yeah, that's true.
And then it's like, oh, I'm going to do a mouse catching a cat. And I guess that would be creative
that
and
actually
a variation.
would be more
Yeah,
creative.
yeah, but it's kind of like, but if you're trying to, it's like, oh, I want to do a work of art, or I want to do some sort of expression of this car accident I had. Then I guess you'd use collision detection. You could use collision detection.
I know, it's funny.
And you'd go backwards. You'd work
Yeah.
from the concept, but I think working the other way. But I mean, I guess that's, I have this guitar and I'm going to use that tool to make a song, as opposed to I'm going to write the song in my head and then transcribe it, or and then play it.
That's true. I got this new beep beep boop boop machine. What song am I going to make with it?
Yeah. So I guess I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are ranges.
Yeah, but just trying to get people to like to go one step further and create stuff.
And that goes back to the experimental electronic music, right? So some of it, I mean, you could say is about, exploring these, I don't know, abstraction or minimalism and everything like that. But some of it is also, I've got this unique box and this unique interface, and I'm going to build something with it, and it's more of an interaction, right, with a technology.
Yeah.
It's a conversation between technology and the creative person. Or that guy, the Solmar construction, that early computer based synthesizer that they have the U of I. The interface and the computer would sort of do things, and the creator described it as like sailing a ship. So you're kind of you're guiding, right? You're going places, but then there's the wind and you have to react to it. And so you're kind of operating. Yeah, you can say, well, I want to go here, but then the wind is changing and blowing, and you might have to zigzag, and you're going to have to adapt, and you're going to have to go you might have to go backwards in order for a while, and then work your way back to that point. And so it's, I mean, and so I
That's
guess
neat.
the creative process with technology is the same way, but it can also just be a literal, tool. Is I want to build a thing that detects collisions, and then I'm just going to overlay a cat and mouse on it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I struggle with. So, uh, uh all right. So do you wanna talk about Severance? You finally got me to watch it.
I don't think I got you to watch it. I think,
Who got me to watch it?
well, it's just other people talking about it, and then you finally,
I finally caved.
yeah.
I finally got the balls up to watch it because I was afraid like, oh, I'm gonna be scared and I'm gonna be sad and it's gonna or I'm not gonna be scared enough. Like sometimes I worry that like with the psychological thriller stuff that it's not gonna affect me the way it affects everybody else. Like I worry about that too sometimes. But it was good. It's so
That's another thing about art is that it's not a universal thing, and so some, like you saying, I'm worried that I won't experience it like everyone else, and it's like this idea that somehow there's a universal experience that everyone else has, and then you will be some kind of outlier, whereas that's typically not the case with creative work, right? Is that some people it resonates with and other people it doesn't.
all right. So anyway, but I watched it and I'm caught up now. So this is a spoiler alert if you haven't watched the newest episode of Severance, which is which episode?
Is it six?
Season
2, episode 6?
Season 2, episode 6, which starts out with I forgot. Actually, yeah. I mean, so I really all right. So let's just talk about the whole thing. Why do you like it? Does it scare you? Does it make you happy? Why do you like this show?
I feel like I'm being asked a lot today. This is more like Rick, you need to
I usually do this.
really.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like let's talk about Severance. Rick, why
Well-
do you like? It's okay. Why do I like it? I don't know. It's lots of things. It's I like the references. So stuff like even the theme song. I feel like references David Shire's soundtrack to The Conversation. And then the other day, last week, after watching last week's episode, then I switched to some other channel and Parallax View is playing. And it's not like there are like direct connections to the movie Parallax View, but the I think they're using anamorphic lenses. It's shot a lot like sort of early mid 70s conspiracy movies, or like Parallax View and kind of The Conversation and just that whole era. So All the President's Men, even maybe, and so it has a lot, and then kind of the haircuts. Everybody's kind of got 70s haircuts.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
The costumes.
Yeah.
It's the era. They're different eras. Kind of the cars are from all different eras, and the technology. It's kind of blended. I mean, they're like flip phones, but then the computer screens are monochrome. Computer screens, and so it's I like all that, and the design aesthetic is pretty close to. Well, who said you said? Did you say Playtime even? Like
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
on like
But-
just because I hated the Brutalists so
or
much.
even like THX 1138. There's some of that in there, even like the kind of white, pure white interiors.
Yeah. Is THX 1138 like that? That's not the like when did that had to have come out like after 2001, right?
Kind of. So yes, the
Yeah.
feature length version, but I'm trying to remember. So the short film. So George Lucas's college film.
Duel.
No,
No, I was kidding.
Is
Yeah,
THX 1138.
Yeah, yeah.
It's got extra things in there. The initial, it's right around that time, but I feel like it might have actually been, it might have been 67, 68. So it's possible that it wasn't influenced by 2001. I need to check the timeline, but I do feel like it was like 5 years. The feature. I just read that whole book about Francis Ford Coppola, and he was involved in that whole process of getting THX 1138 made, the feature.
All right, let me ask you this: with your knowledge of film, there had to have been a lot of graduates of the, what is it, USC?
USC. Well, you see, okay. See now there's a problem. Now I've forgotten now.
Okay, let's just say California college colleges.
So there's the USC Film School,
yeah,
UCLA.
Film school. So
And Lucas was at. Was he at? Yeah, he was at UCLA. Yeah.
There have been a lot of college graduates of these film programs in Southern California, let's say, and southern northern California, right? Probably most of them have made films. Are they all as important as THX 1138 and Duel, or do we just and Duel's a full length, right? It's not a
Steven Spielberg didn't get into film school.
Okay,
so Steven Spielberg, did the one of those early Columbo episodes. What else? He just kind of worked his way into. He did some TV. A Night Gallery episode, and
Interloper.
Then did Duel, I think. Yeah,
Poser.
It's just a few things. Yeah, he wasn't. He wasn't a film school.
Here we go. All right, THX movie was 71. Cody says.
Yeah, the movie was, but the short film
that
was
that he
67, 68.
That's early. So my question is, if George Lucas hadn't have made the Star Warses, would THX 1138 still be an important film?
Ugh. Well, I kind of feel like THX 1138 did not. Yeah, it. I mean, I feel like even 30 years ago, it was still a weird obscurity, even though it was by George Lucas. But also kind of a. I mean, people talked about it. Yeah. Well, that's an interesting question even then.
Yeah,
but it's because but if you think about it, I mean, it's got Robert Duvall. You know, it is an American Zoetrope production. I mean, I think it's an important. Yeah, I think it was an important film. And I do think people would talk about it. Yeah, even without American Graffiti and Star Wars following it,
we'll have
right?
to say American Graffiti also.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's because I remember seeing it, like on the 330 movie or something, and I guess but it is lumped in with all those other films like Silent Running,
right?
You know, and I'm trying to think of some of the other early 70s sci-fi films that I think are important, but
was it Dark Star or something? No,
Stanley Kubrick did not get his visual style from THX. I don't think so.
I know that's I was alluding
because
to
that film, 2001 was in pre-production from 65 to so some of that, I think that's. But there's that. What's the National Film Board of Canada documentary about the planets or the solar system that was really shot beautifully and was totally what Kubrick built, at least and I think he hired the people who did this documentary from 64, 65. I wish I could remember what it's called. It was black and white, but it was amazing footage or created footage of the solar system.
We've got
so that was part of the visual inspiration, but then the interiors I think is just more sort of contemporary, sort of modernist white cube.
We've got
at least the ending is kind of like that was where that was right around the time of all the kind of minimalist, modernist sculpture stuff and the white cube gallery and things like that. So I think that's where all that came from.
Glenn Barth here asking, in relation to what was the theater at the time, in relation to what was in the theater at that time, absolutely. Oh, Omega Man. We got a Omega Man, and then
is that somewhat I just talked about Omega Man the other day.
And then Cody B says Kubrick used the moon landing set, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, so this is in answer to my question, why do you like Severance? No,
I
it's
also
good. Yeah.
no. I think it's a really. I mean, the problem I have with it is that I always forget, and every time I rewatch it, is like, ooh, it's super dark. It's a lot darker. I remember it and I like it. It's got humor in it too, but also yeah, it's dealing with really interesting issues of. It's really about late stage capitalism, right? It's about corporate control
That's
of
so funny.
your actual consciousness.
Absolutely not what I was going to say. I was going to say it's dealing with that. What's that word that you learn when you're in 6th grade and you read the the Dostoevsky book?
Duality?
No.
What would
When you're alone? What word is that? Somebody help me out there. And I don't even have the right or oh Jesus Christ. Fyodor Dostoevsky the word the word that encompasses an aloneness. And never mind because that's
ennui?
no. It's there's
Not
God,
ennui.
what is Wow, I can't remember anything. I cannot remember anything that happened 50 years ago, I guess. But so all right, so well what I like the idea of separating your brain between when you're home and when you're at work. And
Work-life balance.
work-life
literal,
balance.
or,
I
separation.
love that. Like I love that.
Yeah.
Nihilism, not like nihilism, very close though, Glenn. We'll have this keep
It's like a reverse charades.
I
It's
know,
like
yeah.
instead
What's
of-
the word I'm thinking of? It's not the crocodile either. What book did we have to read in 1970s or 1980s high school by Dostoevsky?
Crime and Punishment.
Thank you. Okay.
I
And so
didn't have
that's-
to read crime. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
because
didn't
you were
get
in
a
an
Dostoevsky.
accelerated
Yeah, but I don't
English.
understand why we didn't get to read.
Because you had to read the big book about the whale.
Yeah, the big book about the whale.
Right. And I got to read the small book about the sea.
Oh yeah, there's the
I
little
think
book about the
the wo-
sea,
the
and
word-
then the big book about the whale.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I really love the idea of like turning like of not remembering what happened at work and coming home. Yes, work-life balance. I love that. And then the other thing that totally got me was the numbers. Like I want that job with the numbers where you just stare at the numbers and you find the scary ones. That made so much sense to me. I was like, the numbers can have like, okay, look for the separate the happy numbers and the scary numbers. You'll know when you see it. And I was like, yeah, you will. You'll totally know. I see that all the time.
It's like when
love it.
that Don DeLillo interview where he was talking about like constructing sentences, and then he started talking about, but it's also the shape of the letters in the
Yeah.
words in the sentence.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh my God, this is.
I love that.
Yeah, it's similar to that where you're thinking not just about the symbols that the things that the symbols represent, but
Yeah.
you're also thinking about their construction
Yeah.
as part of that. And then
I
what's
can't get
a
enough.
scary number and what's a
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a scary group of numbers. I can't
Yeah.
get enough of that. I would sit there. I would have that job for totally for real. I would love that job. But also, okay, so then also, what kind of brain? What's in their brain? What Kevin Dunham is saying, when you are terminated, your work self is literally terminated. So crazy. That show is next level. That makes sense. You're in the Matrix and you die in the Matrix. That's all Matrix stuff. But but what's interesting to me also is like how and they're really exploring this in the later episodes is how different the person's brains are, like the innie's brains, right? Like, so who's the guy who's so sweet, who's got the wife, and they're like, what's that character's name? It's not Irving.
no.
Yeah. Well, the other character.
Yeah.
So he's like so sweet, and he's just so in love with his wife when she comes, and he loves his job, and he's just such a different. His innie is a totally different person than his outie. And then this recent episode is like the love episode, like they're all in love. The innies are all loving each other and stuff like that. And that to me, that's like unfettered, like unbaggaged love. Like people this is what I liked about this episode, is that it's love without any baggage. It's like there's no like, oh well, something else, you did this to me 2 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago, like there's they don't, like, that character doesn't remember anything when he's in there because he doesn't have that.
There's also if you think about the innies as metaphorically being children, or the first season they're children, right? And then this season they're adolescents or transitioning from adolescence into adulthood, and then that's that unfettered love, or it's more like first love,
Innocence.
or
Like,
trying to get So no, that's interesting.
It's,
But yeah, I think I feel like it's just about duality, right? And what makes you you, and the idea of a soul, and and whether or not and so then you start thinking about the metaphors, like, I sold my soul to for this job, right? And then it's kind of a way of working out that kind of idea too. And then also and then the cult of corporate cult, or the free market cult, or
oh
just
yeah, I do love the religion
capitalist
stuff.
capitalist cult in a way.
Okay, so Lars here, rock star Lars Nielsen. Oh yeah, I tell my kids there is work dad and home dad. Kids know when a home project gets real. I switch into engineer work dad. That's cool.
Yeah, and people, and that's the thing too, is this idea that you're the same person everywhere, and it's like, no, everybody's performative, or is, I mean, maybe not code switching, but you are, it's kind of like all exploring all those ideas, where and then what's your core? Is there a core sort of personality, like that idea of, are these people good, or are they the same person, right? Inside and outside.
Yeah, just because it's the same body, and that mind has different, like, so I keep going, oh, it's about addiction, like it's about people doing drugs, and or being alcoholics or something. You're alcoholic and you don't remember what you did when you were under the influence of alcohol, and so that's your excuse. You were alcohol person.
Well, and I mean, that's part of it, is somebody so somebody explore, trying to get away from trauma, right?
Oh yeah, that's
kind of not self-medicating, I guess, but like medicating by having their mind cut off.
Yeah. And then what was the other thing? Oh, and then I think about AIs too. Like there's always the, like, when we start really worrying that an AI has, like what does it mean? When is the point when an AI has sentience? Because the innies could be construed as AIs, I suppose. Like they're, but not really. But why aren't they? And also, like, it's just interesting to me, like, what? Oh yeah, man. Okay, so they are children. So that the book, right, the self-help book is hysterical too, right? When they get the self-help book, the first, I think that's the first season, right? They find that there, right? They find the brother-in-law's self-help book, and they're like, and they have no basis for any of that type of philosophy. Like they have there's no lineage of that.
Well,
so
there is, though, which is the stuff,
cure,
the company, the founder of the company's stuff too.
Yeah.
And so that's what's interesting
right.
too, is that there's a duality there, or there are parallels there, where it's like you've got the self-help kind of book, and then you've got the corporate cult
religion
kind of,
thing.
Religious, semi-religious kind of,
Yeah, but I really enjoyed, like, that they're so enthralled with that, and I loved the graphic treatment, that one, when he's reading it, and they've got the words going across the screen, as he's reading it. I'm trying to think of, actually, that looked like our Clock Street video. Not I was like, where did I see the words that look exactly like that? It's the Clock Street video. It just reminded me of that. And so I like that, and I also I am kind of enjoying that there's no continuity for me, or there's just very little emphasis on the cult. Like it's there, but like, and you hear that people are fighting it, but it's just not part of it. Whereas like I keep going, oh, it's just like The Handmaid's Tale, because people are trapped also in The Handmaid's Tale, and people are not being treated as adults. People are being treated as innies in The Handmaid's Tale, and it's in a frozen land, and actually a lot of there's a lot of like drone shots, probably. I guess those are probably drone shots, right? Of frozen exterior lands, and that's total Handmaid's Tale stuff. But and I don't know where I was going with this. It's just very reminiscent to me. Oh, but in The Handmaid's Tale, there's like an uprising and there are people fighting. Like it's real. The heavy hand of the evil side is just always present. Whereas this, I feel like it's not. I don't know. I feel like it's not. Like, I feel like it's just like a MacGuffin almost. It's like, yeah, it's there too, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Cody B says Clock Street was the first PC song I ever heard. It was on a CD comp from some music mag like CMJ or something. Yeah, that's interesting. So, yeah.
Yeah, was it on? So somebody sent us at least a picture of a VHS. Like it was like a VHS video magazine, like with music videos, and I think was it Clock Street was on it.
Oh yeah, somebody said that they just were back in Champaign and they saw Clock Street. They were like, "What?" Because the story of Clock Street is that I picked up a hitchhiker woman, right? Needed to get right. Is that I did right? I picked up a hitchhiker.
Was she a hitchhiker or just somebody?
Well,
she looked like she needed
a
help.
ride. She needed a ride, and she kept saying that she lived on Clock Street, and I thought she was like, Clock, take me to Clock Street. She was crying kind of, and she smelled like terrible. Like it's all the words are there, and I drove her to Clark Street because that's the street that I knew, like right in the middle of campus. But she actually she's like, no, clock. And I'm like, clock? Like, she's like, clock. Like, I think she pointed to her wrist or something. And I was like, a clock? And that would have been before navigators or anything.
Yeah.
I probably looked it up on the internet or something.
No, not the internet. It would have been the internet.
On a map or something. And then we found there's a Clock Street. Like Helogio, like clock. Like
you probably asked somebody.
A watch, yeah.
Probably leaned out the window.
Yeah. Hey, is there such a thing as? Yeah, it's down there. And then
it's
we
a very
drove
short street.
It is a very
It's not a major thoroughfare in Champaign.
In an area that we never have been to. So Cody says I used to love getting those mixed CDs every month back in the good old days. The good old days. Well, all right, let's talk a little politics. Do you know what's going on? Because I don't.
I just heard something about Taiwan. So apparently
Is that the 52nd state?
No, like starting to not acknowledge Taiwan, which to me seems counter to what I thought was anti-Chinese sort of sentiment.
Are you looking it up?
No.
Okay.
I'm making a note about what we talked about.
Man.
I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Do you watch the news and that? Like, what do you do? Where do you get your news from?
I guess I listen to NPR a little bit, but I haven't been listening to NPR that much. I listened to it this morning, but I don't think I really processed. I'm sure if you reminded me, I'd know. I'd remember. But it's like I am doing, I guess, what's not supposed to, I'm not supposed to be doing is I'm not supposed to get overwhelmed and just tune it out. I'm supposed to stay engaged and fight. But it's just kind of like...
There's nothing to fight. It's just like throwing another piece of shit at the, like, I'm going to annex Canada. It's going to be the 51st state. I can't say it the way... it's like my Steve Albini voice.
I mean, I think the big thing is that, I mean, that's impacting us or is starting to... is that there was a dear colleague letter
my God, yes.
Was it from the Department of Education? It's just... not a legal document in any way or policy, but basically a heads up, right?
Yeah.
And was it from the Department of Education or?
I don't know because I didn't get it. I didn't get that fucking email.
Nobody got an email.
Yeah.
It's like the dear colleague letter.
Yeah.
But a response to that or information about it, that's
a
completely different thing.
Yeah.
But see now I've lost.
All right, dear
what-
colleague,
just about anything, talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the in the university or in higher not just higher education, right? Public education, institutions of public education. And it's kind of a warning that something's going to happen, or there's something's coming down the pike where it's like we're gonna be telling you to stop saying anything about
DEI.
DEI.
So, but all right, you were on the strategic plan commission, right? You were on the strategic plan for the university and for the college. And so there are like 4 or 5 goals in the strategic plan, like large areas of goals, right? And so how far down is DEI in our strategic plan?
It's not a top 10 list.
Not a top 10 list,
not
but it's
number 1.
But it is number 1.
Money.
It's the first thing, though. It's
Is it?
Yes, it's first. DEI is first on the college's strategic plan, and I think.
Oh, okay.
If you look for it now, it's going to be erased because we're going to comply with the law.
Well, no, that's the thing is there's no law. There's no law that's been changed. These are executive orders,
executive order,
and
right.
then some kind of comment about how something's coming and we're going to be saying you can't do this, but it's like you can't just dictate. I mean, it's not like the president can just say, well, I mean, he can, but it's just kind of like, well, what?
Then they're going to take away our federal funding if we say the words diversity.
And that's the thing is that I think most of the federal money is for like Pell Grants. It's like for helping. That we're not getting. I don't think it's like for research
Students,
and stuff, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we're getting. It's not like a chunk of our paycheck is coming from federal funds.
No, but a chunk of our students are coming from.
Yeah, they're
right?
getting.
The students are
they're
getting Pell Grants and then coming to college.
Grants and scholarships to support. Yeah. And so that's where the problem is like if they say, well, but I don't know. And so then the other side of it is that J.B. Pritzker, at least in our state, is like, no, we've got our rules about this stuff, and that's our laws and
did you
policy.
see the State of the State address?
I did not.
I watched it. I
did. That's something I heard on NPR today. Was the Illinois state politics discussion, and they were talking about J.B. Pritzker and him talking, evoking, Germany post or pre. What do you call that?
Pre-Trump Germany.
Pre World War II Germany, or he was talking about that in the State of the State address.
Yeah,
which upset some people.
Well,
but no, I'm not saying it was upset.
It made other people pretty fucking happy.
Yeah,
is what it did. It was like, somebody grew a backbone. Yeah, that was really that's he's out front and center. Like now because like during the election, he was not like he'd say a couple of things, but then he kind of stepped back. But now he's out. He's like he feels like he can make waves. I guess That's really cool. I love him.
He's not being a coward or not sort of kind of holding back.
In the State of the State, he actually said he goes he speaks like a human being too. He doesn't speak like not a human being. Speaks like somebody who's actually been to college. He speaks like an educated he doesn't speak like a thug. No, that's not true either. Wait, here's what he did though. What he said was, now I've lost my train of thought. He said that he'd already given Trump what he wanted at some point. He goes just giving him what he wants and thinking that that's going to help you is not going to work for you. I already tried it. I gave him what he wanted. I praised him on national television or something, which is exactly what he wanted, just so he would send us some ventilators, and what he sent us was not ventilators, and they were broken or something like that. So he breaks his promises. This is what JB Pritzker said.
Yeah.
JB Pritzker said. He said, he's like, that was part, like that was, and then it went down from there. It was like even more like, explaining. And there's been a lot of talk about the Skokie Nazi rally, which apparently I went to and even wrote about in my book. I guess there was only one, like 1978 or something.
Well, that was the one with the Supreme Court, right? It was the right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a big thing. But the Illinois Nazis, as we have all seen in Blues Brothers, that they would regularly march
regularly
in like Marquette
march.
Park
Yeah.
in Chicago. It was the Skokie March.
The one that was upsetting to people, and it
was part of a Supreme Court case, right?
Yeah.
Whether or not
I didn't
could
even write about
prevent
that.
them from marching.
Yeah, and they did. They still marched, but there were a lot more people who were against them.
Yeah.
Lars says Janet Mills, governor of Maine, is a hero. She told Felon 47 that she will see him in court at a press conference. We need more pro-democracy party, not left, not right, just pro-USA.
Yeah.
And then Cody says, Lars Nielsen, I think we need a labor workers party.
Mm.
Yeah. So, but anyway, okay, well, what else? What else you got? So you're not, I am trying to do the thing where I'm not paying attention to the news, because it really is, I feel like most of the stuff is there to upset people like me. It's not even to like, it is really only there to upset people.
I don't think that's true.
Really?
I think there's proactive dismantling of.
Yeah, there's proactive dismantling of our democracy, but there's also like
of our government, right? Or of social services support.
What about calling Zelensky a dictator?
Yeah,
what's that?
That was I remember. See, I'm just blanking all this stuff out. I was just listening to something about that earlier today. Yeah, again on NPR, and so well, it's so Zelensky, didn't pursue what was it? Persecution of Hunter Biden, right? And so Trump is pissed off about that. God. And so Zelensky's he's just, and then on top of it, Trump has got his head up Putin's ass. So it's just the, and then the shit about JD Vance with the
oh my God,
the far right parties and everything like that. And then who else? Oh, Steve Bannon did a Roman salute in quotes today. Was it today at CPAC?
Oh, no, I didn't see that. Oh, wow, great. Yeah, that's good.
And that's the thing is, like, I was just using that term, crypto-fascist, and then,
Secret Brotherhood of Crypto Fascists.
The Brotherhood of Crypto-Fascist Astronauts, but the pun was that, so the old term, crypto-fascist, that's what, what's his name? Gore Vidal called William F. Buckley. He called him a crypto-fascist, and that idea is that, you're a fascist, you're a Nazi, but you're kind of hiding it, right? You don't.
Oh, now I understand your joke.
Yeah, but now with the crypto thing, it's a nice combination. But that's the thing is, like, there's nothing crypto-fascist about this. I mean, this is just straight on, full in your face
fascist.
It's like there's no hiding anymore, or no embarrassment.
That's surprising.
And it's like, wow, this is really, it's really disturbing. So what J.B. Pritzker said is good. It's like, okay, call them out. Call them out. These guys are, these are the fucking, guys. I mean, there were kids like this in high school, and I think they grew out of it. They grew out of it, but it's like,
they carved swastikas.
The Hitler nerds. It's like
you're
these kids, they're nerds. They got into military history, and then all of a sudden, they're into Nazis and stuff. It was like the kid who wanted to make a Nazi flag in the latch hook rug project in art class in 8th grade, and the teacher was like, "No, not gonna happen," and it's like,
And now you probably can.
and so there's that.
Do you think
that
they'd allow
fucking-
that now?
That fucking
Do you
adolescent Nazi boy kind of like
yeah,
thing.
exactly. Yeah. Wait,
And
that's
and
my question though. Do you think that people can wear Nazi things now, or like can create Nazi things in high schools? Do you think that will be allowed? But like, I don't know, like, but boys can't dress like. Do you think a boy could wear a Nazi shirt, but he can't wear a dress? I'd like to test that out. Too bad we don't have any school. Too bad Graham is in college. He would have done that for us. Well, I don't think he would have done it for us, but like, right?
I don't know. I mean,
that's somebody's going to pull that out. Somebody's going to try that.
I guess, but regardless, it's like things are moving very quickly to there. Yeah, and it's been happening obviously over the past 10 or 15 years. The fear of being a white supremacist, crypto fascist, whatever you want to call it, the fear of humiliation of that
has gone away.
Gone away.
Yeah, it's okay now.
Or it's the tolerance. It's not even I guess it's the tolerance.
They belong now. It's like belonging.
Yeah.
CF instead of LGBTQIA, it's CF, crypto fascist, belong. You belong, crypto fascists. Cody B says, till then we have to pressure Dems to grow a spine. Tim Bauer says, greetings from Worth, Austria.
Ooh.
And says, I'm tired, but I'm happy to be away from the U.S. this week. Good for you, Tim.
Yeah.
Have a trucker ball for us. Well, that's not really Austria,
Nope.
though, right? Yeah, it's.
Although they're probably, yeah.
Yeah. Jeff Alley says, don't Republicans need to grow a spine?
Yeah, that's true, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we don't expect
because that was
them
the
to be
thing.
able to do that.
So J.B. Pritzker's saying this stuff, and they're like the Freedom Caucus, Illinois Freedom Caucus or whatever, walked out, and it's like, no, whoa, we're angry that you're calling a fascist a fascist.
Kevin says, I don't think they genuinely care about the social issues. This is obfuscation from dismantling, taking over the government, and the grift to drive my dollars to the 1%. Cody B says he agrees with me that the narrative on the news is designed to create outrage. It is. Jeff Ali says a Nazi salute. And Cody B says techno-feudalism 2028. Techno-feudalism.
That's the thing is so Elon Musk having his grandfather being one of the kind of proponents, early technocracy kind of people, and it's like my understanding of technocracy though is like, these are experts, you let the experts kind of run things and do the decision making, right? And it's like, but the way it's being implemented now is like, oh no, we're technical people, we're engineers, and we're going to, engineer these problems. And that's when then you have problems like, we're going to do a search for transition, and anything that has the word transition in it is going to be cut from the budget, right? And it's like, this program that helps disabled
veterans,
students, veterans, like transition out of high school into the working world. Ooh, we're going to hack that because it's got the word transition in it. And that to me is, and that's not expertise, right? That's not an expert, analyzing something. What that is an engineer or a tech person,
right?
Kind of
coming up with a solution that, and just not a forward-thinking solution, just somebody. Yeah. We're transition.
It's brute force.
Yeah.
Solutions that aren't
that are in an area that requires a little bit more nuance, and we know this. I mean, because all the AIs are trained on information that's not whole. Also, I mean, but it's meant to upset you. So like that's why I just stopped watching the news. And I'm trying to get my mom to stop.
It's meant to upset you.
Yeah,
maybe some of the stuff, but no. I mean, like saying, like the leader of Ukraine is the dictator and is the fascist, and then saying and spouting off the Putin's sort of claims about this conflict. That's not
that's
not just there to upset you.
I
It's
agree.
like, oh no,
Yeah.
we're
But
we're-
some of it is. Some of it is.
we're supporting.
Yeah.
We're behind Putin. We're and then it's like, oh, we want to gut the federal government. We want to, and it's not even that. We want to we want to get rid of spending, and then we want to move tax breaks to these, the millionaires and billionaires, right? And it's all about that, and now it's being implemented. And so and then saying things about, but even that, saying the stuff about gender and DEI, you could say that, oh, that's just social stuff that's being used to kind of get you worked up and distracted. And I don't think that's 100% true. It gets you worked up.
Yeah.
And maybe it gets you distracted, but it's not distracting, but it's also in line with
the plan. That's true. Yeah.
Philosophy of the world, which
Right.
is the elite, right? And this
I thought
rich
we were
elite.
the elite.
Well, we are an
Yeah.
elite,
Yeah, but we're
right?
not the elite.
But we're not the the wealthy, powerful
right.
elite,
Yeah.
right? And so any of this stuff where it's like, oh, you've got to yeah, in fact, the concrete thing is again, DI, equity, all that. It's not about, there's a perfect quote about this, right? Somebody had, is like, it's not about giving underqualified people, jobs. It's about eliminating or giving people who are not part of the elite a chance
At the
to
job.
have equality in anything in the system, as opposed to the rich white kid, elite, right? That they get the jobs, they run everything, they have all the wealth.
They have
right?
the head start.
They don't have, Elon Musk is not a super brain. He's not a special person. Trump, and that's the thing, is you hear
They
about
started ahead.
Trump's family and his father. Definitely it's all about them being purebred. Their family. It goes back to what's it called? From the Nazis, the fucking God, I can't remember now.
Not apartheid.
No, well, apartheid's part of it, right? That's another thing. That's why Elon Musk's grandfather moved to South Africa, because it's like, oh, I like this system. This is better than the frickin' Canadian, craziness that he didn't like that. He's like,
Oh,
yeah.
Hey, wait. Are you done? Are you done already?
I wish I could remember this word. Eugenics.
Oh, eugenics.
It goes back to eugenics, right?
Okay.
So it's like that's Trump's background is his family, his father, is like, oh, it's all about
Cody wrote it.
purebred.
Yeah.
Yeah. That idea that you are an elite and you are Superman and you can breed that, and I don't know.
Jeff Ellie says in the late 50s, a Western TV series called Trackdown had an episode called End of the World that had a con man named Trump tell everyone that they're going to die unless he builds a wall. The irony-filled episode can be viewed on YouTube. I didn't know about that.
It was last time around there was that was
I had
running the circuit. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
Shoot, I can't remember. I had one other thing to ask you about that actually would have been nice, and I can't remember what it was. Damn. Something else happened this week, and I can't remember what it was. Oh, Saturday Night Live, 50th anniversary. What do you think? I thought it was charming.
Yeah, it was okay. It was nice that Eddie Murphy was performing in sketches this time, as opposed to 10 years ago when he just kind of showed up, was still probably pissed off, and now and didn't do anything, right? He just kind of came out and waved, if I remember correctly. And so this time he's doing, and so seeing him I'm trying to think. He was in 2 sketches, yeah, and it was like seeing him with other people. It was pretty cool. But yeah, it was nice.
All right.
The music thing, I watched part of the music thing, but I basically fast forwarded through almost all of it and watched. They did a concert a couple days before.
Oh, okay.
And it was like a 3-hour concert with all sorts of bands. But I watched. What did I watch? I watched the B-52s.
Oh, nice.
Played, and then David Byrne, which was not so good, and then Devo played. I watched that.
Jeff says, I hear everyone at the SNL reunion got COVID. And
Yeah. Oh, and I already know that, and I thought Paul Simon did okay singing, but I know, I mean, I watched that documentary that, he's got severe hearing loss, at least in one ear now, and so he's on kind of at the end. But the listening to Paul McCartney too, it was like, oh, okay, now Paul McCartney's he's really fraying, because he'd still been pretty good vocally into his 70s.
Yeah.
Right? Yes,
yeah.
It was impressive. The last time I had heard him singing live, it was impressive that it was like, oh, how does he maintain that? Actually, and seeing Chrissy Hind. So how old is Chrissy Hind? That Pretenders show last year. It was like she sounds great, and it's like I think she's at least 70. It's like, wow, that's great to hear that, because yeah, but then Paul McCartney at the end there, it was like, oh, it's starting to fray. Things are fraying. So that made me a little sad.
Oh, they had a thing on there that was like didn't age well, which I thought was great. I liked it. You probably couldn't have done it last year.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have mixed feelings about that, because you're basically showing.
Yeah.
So it's an acknowledgement of problematic stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
They blacked out some of the stuff was
yeah. So it's like,
oh,
okay.
much.
So we're gonna blur out the
blackface,
right?
Yeah.
But it was still.
And they had commentary on it too.
Yeah.
I thought it was this is the world we're in now. So
yeah.
I
thought it was good, and it was an acknowledgement, but it also kind of felt like a double thing, where it's like, oh, we can show this is the way we can show all this stuff. Right?
They probably had plenty of stuff to show, so
Yeah,
they decided to make that. They showed it.
And then the joke about like that spun me off, is like, what was it, 600 and something hosts, and only 2
Oh yeah.
had committed murder or convicted murderers.
Yeah. That's good.
And then I had to spin out, and I was like, oh,
who was
Robert.
it?
I knew OJ
figured
was
that
the one, but then it was
yeah.
Robert Blake. I was like, Robert Blake. But then other people were saying, well, that's, murderers, okay, but there have been a lot more hosts who have killed people. And then it was like Matthew Broderick. And then
Matthew Broderick killed somebody?
Yeah, he
by
killed,
accident?
Yeah, a car ran his car into this mother and daughter. Like, it was right after, and what's her name was in the car? The sister from Ferris Bueller. So it was right after Ferris Bueller's Day Off. In Ireland, was it?
Oh, I remember
accident.
that.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right.
And then people were saying Christopher Walken and Robert Wagner? It's whoever was on the boat with Natalie Wood. So Christopher Walken was on the boat with Natalie Wood when she died.
How did she die? I forgot. Christopher Walken killed her?
No, she drowned, right? She went off the boat, but nobody really knows. Or, well, somebody may know, but it's kind of a question of whether or not
maybe that'll come out.
She was
like on drugs, like lots of drugs.
No,
or
pushed.
Oh,
because there was a fight, I think, and then or whether or not she was. I think maybe drunk. I can't even remember, but it was an accidental drowning.
Even stars die and kill each other.
That's right.
All
They're
right.
people just like us. They die and they murder people. They murder.
That's
They're
nice.
murderers.
Yeah. And on that note,
Yeah, I think that's a good way to end this.
Thanks for listening. Sorry we're early today, but we have a show to go to.